Want that. Special delivery. I need that. Special delivery.
Welcome to the Special Delivery Podcast. I am your host, Special, and on this show, I like to do one of two things. Either I'm delivering you brand new music that's dropped, or I'm sitting down with an artist to break down their latest project, and that's what we're doing today. SndTrak joined me to talk all about his project, Wave Tape Volume 2, everything from the title, the cover art, every single track, plus him making cohesive and intentional projects and really creating from feelings, plus so much more. Just a little editor's note, one of our mics was messing up a little bit, so I apologize for that, but let's get into it.
What's up? SndTrak, part of One Day Soon, repping at the Av Records. Yeah, we in here.
Yay! I want to talk all about Wave Tape Volume 2. Of course, we gotta get started with the title.
Yeah,
Why?
the wave, man.
Do you pronounce it wave tape or dot wave tape?
Wave tape. Dot wave was just a play on, when we export joints, it's always in wave form. We're coming from machines, so a lot of stuff we on is wave. But to play on that, I call it the wave tape because a lot of stuff we're doing is with the trap or the newer stuff, so we're trying to translate what we like into the new generation by throwing this stuff. So it is like catching a wave, but it's also the wave, like the format, you know what I mean? So it's just a play on words. Like he said, we just play on with words a lot. As
far as the description on Bandcamp, it's super well written. Did you write that or did you have somebody
else? I
wrote
that.
God, you guys are multi-fucking talented. It makes me so happy.
Well, Flo was like, man, I need a bio. Nothing against Flo. Flo's not great at writing bios.
He's good at so many other things.
He's good at so many other things. He is not good at writing bios. I love you though. So I wrote that up real quick.
I want to read it to the people real quick.
For sure.
Of course, it's up on Bandcamp, but a perfect blend of old and new. The Wave series is meant to take the listener on a journey. As a lover of true hip hop, we cannot ignore where the current sound of our culture lies. Instead of neglecting our extended trap family, we learn to embrace the subgenre that has dominated radio for the past decade. So good, and really sums it up in a way that when I was talking to Zine and we were talking about the interpretation, and it's like you're very spot on with that, but there's still an interpretation that lies within the music. So you didn't give us too much, but you gave us enough.
Yeah, I gave you enough because I want you to hit the play button. I mean, that's what it's really about.
Yes. As far as the cover art, super like browns and pinks and just gorgeous. What was it like making the cover art?
Man, no flex. I did that in paint.
Oh my god, I fucking love paint. If you just have a very I hate the word basic because people have really fucked up the connotation of it, but
right.
There is a positive connotation to the word, and sometimes you want to make real basic shit, and paint is perfect for that.
Paint is very perfect. It's very, very minimalist. I mean, I'm a digger. I mean, I've been getting vinyl for like over 10 years now, so a lot of these covers, there's like a series of covers that are very generic, especially like the old jazz stuff, like late 60s. Like you just see it and you see how it kind of translates, for me at least, because I wanted to introduce that into like the newer generation, because you have people that do like generic covers for different series, but I kind of wanted to pull from the old days. So I seen that and I kind of just made it. So basically the cover, it's to resemble a wave form.
Yes.
If you look at it, it's spiking and goes up and down. So I kind of just made these pieces and just arranged them and just went through the whole color palette and just, that's what I landed on. And then, man, I airdropped it to my phone and put some little effects with an app I had, like some distressed effects, and that's how it came about.
So good. Yeah. This one is more of the pinks and the browns, whereas Volume 1 was more of the blues. Is that a feeling that you feel like this tape evokes, or what was the reasoning behind this color palette for this one?
I just landed on 3 colors. I really like that. It really stood out to me. It was the blues. Then the second one is orange. The next one will be purple. So they kind of all, for me, flow and mesh together and just feel good. I know a lot of people say when they hear music they like see colors and stuff. I don't, but it's interesting that you do say that, because it maybe does set a mood for the album. You know what I'm saying? That is interesting.
And then song titles, of course, Zena and I talked about it, but I love how producers really take on song titles and really make them their own. We talked about, the uppercase, the lowercase.
Yeah.
But this one, I love that you kind of used no vowels and some have vowels, and just like basically creating words in a sense by putting words together. What was the idea behind these titles?
Man, I'm just such a minimalist. I just want to keep it like plain and simple as much as I can. So that was kind of like the idea behind it. And to just play on the original titles a little bit. Didn't want it to specifically be named after what the remix was. So, but most of them are. It's just a play on it though. So that was kind of the idea behind it.
And then the switch up from Volume 1 to Volume 2, was that intentional? Because Volume 1 was all lowercase, and then for this one you did capitalize the first letter?
That could have been Flo.
Okay.
He uploaded it.
Okay. I was like, you know me, I'm trying to read into everything.
Yeah. No, I usually have him lowercase, but he's always on me about that. He's like, man, you can't put that on iTunes like that. Yeah, he fixes it like that, so I just let him do his thing. So,
but that's interesting too, just thinking about what the guidelines are when it comes to all these different streaming and uploading services. So it's like, you know what I mean, like him knowing that, like, oh, you can't upload it like that on iTunes. So just taking the craft but also incorporating it into 2019. So I think that's interesting. It still looks cool.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to bust Flow out either. I'm like,
good.
I'm just interested.
Flow two for what? I don't know, 2 for 3 right now. It's okay.
The first one, Bite Down, it's so, another word that people have overused too much, but it is so vibey. How did you know that you wanted Bite Down to be the first track?
Man, it's just a good opener. Like he says, with guitars, I love guitars too. But yeah, it just felt good coming on. You know, I kind of sequence my stuff just by feeling, kind of like take you up, take you down. You know, so that track stuck out to me a lot, and it stuck out to a lot of my friends. Like a lot of my homies are like, man, that's like one of my favorite tracks. You know, so I felt good to open up with that, with a bomb track, to just roll into everything else, you know.
That leads us to Bodak. Which came first, Cardi or the sample? How did you construct it?
Man, the sample came about, and it's crazy because I switched that acapella. So I had Kendrick Lamar on there, Poetic Justice. But just for, you know, to fit the format with the wave and stuff, I decided to switch it out last minute, but it fit. Man, my homie, he called me. He was like, yo, did you intentionally do that? Like, because the drums are hitting on pocket with her words and everything. And he's just like, yo, this is insane. And so once I put that acapella on top, it felt good. So I left it. I was like, yeah, this feels special.
I love that part of the process too, like really knowing your work so well, and you know what I mean, knowing what you're capable of within yourself, to be like, okay, Poetic Justice fits, but Bodak Yellow does too. Right.
And he didn't bring it up, but on Commas, on Blocks Volume 1, he had Andre 3K on that. You know, he switched it up, like, man, like this is more fitting. You know what I mean? So we kind of do that as producers. We kind of see what fits best. You know, it's kind of like a puzzle piece, you know.
Now I want a 3K song on Volume 2, please. Because it fits.
A lot of pressure.
You guys are really playing with trap, and it's like trap started with Dungeon Family. We need that.
Bone Thugs, you know. So
all of it.
David OGs.
Yeah, like the way you guys are playing with trap and kind of exploring it is so important, to be like, this is trap and this is also trap, and like, yeah, it's mostly in Atlanta, but it's also in these other places with these other artists. I love the way you guys explore it. It makes me so happy.
She's in love with who I am. Back in high school, I used to bust it to the dance. Now I hit the FBO with duffels in my hand. I did have a Zan, 13 hours till I land. like a light, slept through the flight, not for the night.
Then we get to Lights Out. Just so smooth. Paint us that picture of making that one.
Man, that's interesting because that beat went through 2 phases. I made it back last year, and I think it's September or October. I just kind of sat on it. Sometimes if I get inspired, I'll create. But then if I don't finish it, I'll just put it to the side. That was one of those unfinished beats that I had to revisit. So once I put the swing on it, like the bounce to it, I'm like, man, this needs something special on top. So that Sicko Mode came out. I'm like, man, like this is just a marriage. And that's another favorite from a lot of people that they hit me about too.
I go hard in the motherfucking paint, nigga. Then you stank it, nigga. What the fuck you thinking, nigga? I won't die for this shit or what the fuck I say. Front yard, broad day with the SK.
Whew. This one, track 4, In the Paint. Oh my God. Like, talk about nostalgia overload. Like,
Right.
oh my, it's almost like an earworm too, because you hear that Brandy sample and you're like, oh my God, I know what this is. But you're like, what is it? The first time I heard it, I was on Google like crazy. Like, okay, I know it's a Brandy song. I know the lyrics are kind of these words, but it's so in the back of our minds that like we know the melody, but we don't know the words. So it's super hard to look up and you're just like, oh shit. And then you find it. You're like, yes.
Yeah, you like that shit.
Yes. And then it's like, oh my God, like this song is incredible.
That's a crazy story too. So Monty Hits Me. That track was meant for Monty. He had sent me a joint, man, Instagram power. Brandy was singing solo, Broken Hearted. So he's like, man, this shit is crazy. He's like, man, can you do something with this? I'm like, all right. So I laid the foundation for it, like playing off her words alone. But then I'm like, man, it's missing something. I'm like, man, it's missing the original, you know? So, I mean, I grew up listening to Brandy because of my sister. My sister's big on Brandy, Monica, like all that stuff back in the day. That went on top, and then he heard it. He was like, and then I played him the remix, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, you can't put Brandy and Waka on top. I'm like, but it feels good.
You can.
I'm like, it feels good though. So that's how that came about.
It's literally my favorite, just on so many levels. And being able to hear that and revisit that Brandy song and just how great it was, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a wonderful song.
Man, and she's so talented. That Never Say Never album, we could do a whole podcast about that album. Goodness gracious. So just marrying those together is so unique, but like you said, it fits so well.
Yeah.
One in the hand, one in the bag, bubbling. Look at the cash coming in. Come get your mans, little nigga bugging me. Just leave the bag, quit all that jaw jackery. Don't even pass me that, I don't want none of it. These niggas mad about it, had enough of it. Whoa, watch what you're saying, all that popping and shaking. Got me hot as a laser, my posse deep in our rating. We got the proof of the paper, had a dream and I made it. El Camino on Dayton's, bitch, you guess over bait. Put the bread on the bitch you bet I'ma make it. Piggy flat in the blanket, I might just roll out today. Then
we get to Bubbling. That one is super fun, and it almost has like animated elements. Like choosing those ad libs really makes it animated. Was that a vision that you had, or it just kind of happened?
It's a vision I had, and it's really similar to the OG too. They kind of like play with that, but man, like every time he does those breaths, like I just have to pause the beat. Even when I do live sets, I do it too. So it was great to just kind of emphasize that, you know, and then bring it in with the intro like slow, then have the drums come in and stuff. So
how do you feel that Anderson fits into this project, and why do you think that fits?
Well, to be honest, I just wanted to go a different route. I mean, Wave 1 was very rugged. It's very raw. So I kind of wanted to get more of a smoother element, like you said, with the opening track with Bite Down. I just wanted this project to feel good. You know, that was the intention behind it. So I mean, everybody loves Anderson. So I love him too. So I felt like he was a great fit. We'll talk about the other one later, but that kind of came about because of this track, because of Bubbling. So yeah, I just think he was just a good fit.
No, it definitely feels good. Then we get into Pressure.
You don't want no
Pressure is vibrant. My interpretation is like I almost see a cartoon forest. Like it really takes me to like almost like some Fern Gully shit. I don't know if you've ever seen Fern Gully, but it's an incredible old ass animated movie.
Okay.
Paint the picture of what that was like for you.
It just came about so randomly. That was a later track I added onto the project. I went through like I guess 3 different projects with that one, but Pressure came about. I was just kind of like going through old stuff, going through old beats. Like I said, I revisit a lot of stuff, so I had to come back around and revisit that track. Just going through acapellas and landed on that one, and it kind of like married itself with the feeling of it. It just feels like Pressure, you know, the sound of it, the beat of it. It just stood out to me. So that's kind of how those two got tied in together.
And how much is so hard, like, and it just hits you.
How much a dollar really costs? The question is detrimental, paralyzed in my thoughts. Parasites in my stomach keep me with a gut feeling, y'all. Gotta see how I'm chilling once I park this luxury car. Hopping out, feeling big as smooth tempo. 20 and pump 6, 20 Marcellus called me Dumpo. 20 years ago, can't forget. Now I can end my era too. How to stack these residuals tenfold. The liberal concept of do. 2006, it didn't hear me. Indigenous African only spoke Zulu. My American tongue was lyric.
It's so short, like 1 minute and 21 seconds. And just, you hit us with the verse and then you let it like ride out in a super cool way. Like a lot of the beats, you do let it ride out towards the end, but this one it felt more instinctual to be like boom and out.
Yeah.
Walk us through that process.
It was meant to be as an interlude. I kind of just interjected that in with the verse just to kind of give you a quick dose of it, you know. I try and keep it short. I mean, I'll be honest, people's attention spans are very short nowadays. So I think like 1 minute to 30 tracks or 2 minute tracks are like ideal for me when I'm doing remixes now. So I try not to go too crazy. I made the beat first, you know, as I do with most of my stuff. And yeah, the way it just felt, I just kept having that song in my head, How Much a Dollar Costs. Man, I used to wear that out. I used to put that on repeat and just loop that all day. So once I heard that and I got the acapella, it was a perfect fit for what he was talking about.
It's so interesting too, because I have the conversation about attention spans a lot with rappers and singers, and it's just interesting to know that producers are thinking like that too. I think a lot of times we think of producers as just kind of doing whatever the fuck they want because they are so talented and they have just incredible visions. But to know that you guys are kind of thinking about that too is super interesting to me.
Yeah, it's important for us. I mean, because nowadays, I mean, a producer is essentially an artist now. Yeah. So we have to keep that in mind, especially when we're trying to push and market ourselves and brand ourselves and get our music out to people. To just know that the attention span of people is very short. Having to battle with that, because I mean, I can sit and listen to a project front to back. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, that's the generation I come in at, just putting something on, letting it play. I mean, you do find those 1 or 2 tracks that you like. Like, I've had a lot of cats come up to me about the first volume. They're like, oh yeah, I saved this track, I saved that track. It's like, why not the whole project? Yeah. You know, like, listen to it, you know, in its entirety so you can get that feeling. Because I sit and listen to it before I give it to people front to back to make sure it's cohesive and it sounds intentional, like it was meant to sound like this. So yeah, it's very important for us to have that in the back of our mind when we are releasing music or working on things.
And it's definitely a journey. Even before I read your write-up, a lot of instrumental tapes that I listen to are journeys. And I think that producers do such a good job of really sequencing in a way that the listener gets to go on a journey. I think that's such a beautiful part of production, is the feelings that you evoke and being able to feel them sequentially is just gorgeous.
Right.
It makes me happy. Then we got Come Down.
Got me hot. Niggas got me hot.
So you said that Come Down came before Bubbling.
It came later.
Oh, it came later. So, okay. What was that process like with both of those?
Bubbling went through a few phases. It was actually going to be, 21 Savage bank account.
Oh.
But I felt like I needed something smooth. I've always loved that track. I've tried to remix that track a few times, but I haven't found the right palette, for his vocals to kind of come out. It's nothing crazy. I mean, I know my stories are very short and sweet, but I'm really about feeling. Yeah. If it hits me, if it feels good, then I stick to it. I don't divert from it until I find what's right.
But even though your stories are short, they're still intentional. Like sometimes, unfortunately, I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh, I just made it. I know you made it. Tell me more. But it's like, even those short, intentional, like going off of feeling, like there's some people who don't even go off of anything. So to know that you're a feeling person, it's hard too, because of course we have these words for feelings, but feelings are felt, not spoken.
Man, it's very hard to express a lot of that stuff because I'm in my home studio most of the time, like all week, pretty much day in and day out. And man, I just can't explain like what comes over me. I can't even tell people, like I can't describe it in words what happens when I hear something being married together, whether it's a cappella with a beat, whether it's me finding a sample, finding the right drums for a sample. Like that's something as producers is very, very hard for us to explain, but just know that the feeling is there, because I mean you guys wouldn't have this. I'm very careful with releasing my music. I want people to get the same feeling that I felt when I first made the track. That's the intention behind everything that I do.
The expression is just gorgeous. Even saying like, I don't know how to describe this, but still being able to express it, because I think a lot of people walk around with feelings and all these things and they don't have an outlet to express it. So as a producer, being able to express it.
That's my outlet. Yeah, music is definitely my outlet. If I'm angry, I make a beat. And if I'm sad, I make a beat. And if I'm happy, I make a beat. So we go through all those phases, and that reflects through the music how we were feeling for that day. So we just hope that translates to our audience or people or listeners that enjoy listening to our music.
Don't you open up that window? Don't you let out that window? Popping pills is all we know. In the hills is all we know. Don't go through the front door. It's low key at the night show.
The last one, Night Show. It's shimmery meets head knocking.
Yes.
Like it's the real head knock, but it's like, oh, it's got that little shimmer to it.
Yeah.
What was it like making that one?
Man, I love that track. So I mean, I just wanted to put my own little spin on it. I wanted it to be hard, but yet kind of like feel good. It's definitely a feeling, especially when he comes on. And it's another short one too. It's very short and sweet. So yeah. But yeah, I had the beat already. A lot of these I do have the beats, like I say. So I had the beat, and yeah, the vocals just kind of married together.
I haven't seen you guys play all of these live, but I instinctually remembered that one live, and it's just so good live because people love that song, and to hear it in that new way is just like, oh shit. And like I said, the head knocking and the shimmering, like, this is gorgeous, but I also just want to like fucking knock my head off. Like it's just a great marriage.
Makes you want to punch somebody.
Anything else you want to tell the people about Wave Tape Volume 2 besides go listen to it right now?
Man, go listen to it right now. If you go get that on Bandcamp, it's a bonus track. It's Black Beatles on there. It wouldn't go through. It wouldn't pass through.
Oh, goodness.
They flagged it. So, yeah, I got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
That stuff irritates me so much.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We could have a whole conversation about copyrights and bullshit and what.
Well, we were just talking. I was talking about somebody about that last night. I think there is a platform that is trying to help people clear remixes and do that. Just cause, man, it's such a hassle, and like people want to hear it. And that's the thing. Even with this whole remix series, like the art of the remix is just so important that people just don't even understand. Like, man, Mary J. Blige's first album was all remix, which I just figured out. The homie was telling me, he was like, yeah, they just sent her acapellas off to all these producers, and they built tracks around her. which is crazy. I never knew this.
And that's such an interesting way to make an album. Like, what?
Yeah, so it's been around. I mean, even the early days, you know, Bad Boy, Diddy doing the remixes and stuff like that. So, man, it's coming back around. I feel like it's vital, and we need that now, just to reintroduce music in a whole new light, you know, for people. Because some people are so turned off with what's going on now. I have people that tell me, like, man, I really would not listen to this track if your beat wasn't underneath it. Yeah. And it's so the beat is so important. Like, people don't understand that the production is so important. So the vocals are just like the icing on the cake.
Yeah. But I think it's a two-way invitation, because you're inviting people who love hip hop and love sampling and love just beats, but you're also inviting people who, you know what I mean, love Travis Scott and love all these songs that they hear, and they're like, oh shit, this is a good invitation. Because I think sometimes, unfortunately, quote unquote real hip hop gets very much into like shutting people out and being like, no, you can't come in here, this is our little club. But the remix is such a good invitation for them to discover something that they might never, and they're like, oh, okay, I like Travis Scott, like, but what is that underneath? So I think it's a two-way invitation.
Yes, for sure, most definitely.
And that's it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you so much for checking out this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever you're listening on. Upcoming episodes are going to be with Coda the Friend and Murs. So to make sure that you don't miss them, just hit subscribe. It's easy. And then reach out to me. Let me know what your favorite part was, or just say hi. I'm on Twitter at SpecialSays, and on Instagram it's at SpecialSays as well. As always, this episode is dedicated to Marlon. Do what you can to stop senseless acts of gun violence.